All righty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another weekly update. Hope everybody's having a lovely weekend. And with that being said, getting some TA. All right, guys, so I'm just going to preface the video by saying we have a pretty ugly look on all four of the indices. We're going to kick it off here with QQ. We're going to go over the rest of the indices, SPY, QQ, VIX, IWM, DIA. Then we're going to go over the big boys, the FANG stocks, and then we have semiconductors. Then I have 10 to 20, around 15 trade ideas going into next week just for you. All right, let's get it, guys. So first things first, QQ's weekly candlestick. How did we close, guys? All right, so we were talking about it for the past 2 weeks. We had these, indecision candlesticks. We were saying it's uncertain times. We had the big tech earnings. All those charts could have suggested things. At the end of the day, these are catalysts that we have no idea how they're going to go. We know for a fact big tech earnings. Yeah, sometimes like Goog, we could see the charts play out perfectly, all right? But at the end of the day, the market going to do whatever the market going to do when these big moves are bound to happen, all right? When we don't have the catalyst, that's when price action typically will just reign king, all right? When we do have the catalyst, that is when the big players, it's their make or breaks moments. It's when they take their, big positions or take the big positions off. That is what moves these markets in these, uncertain directions. We really have no idea how those are going to go every single time. The charts are one thing, but if we know for certain that is going to be an uncertain outcome, there's no point in taking on a good amount of risk that week. There's just not. All right. So now I'm going to say, guys, we do have a bit of clarity over here on the weekly time frames. All right. And these weekly charts we're about to go over, we do have things suggest we're probably going to be getting further downside here. Now, although we are at the weekly 9 EMA right here, I am going to point out we're at the golden pocket. You started breaking down from this channel, and we do have a big fat bearish engulfing candlestick here on QQ's weekly candlestick from last week. All right. It is not the best look. All right, it really is not. We could just look at the monthly candlestick as well. All right, let's just take away everything. October just closed out. What do we have? We have an indecision candlestick. The last one that was similar to this, what happened? You ended up having a big, fat, long wick over here. Yes, you got bought up at the end of the day, but you still did see, $47 decline over here, guys. That's 47 points. That's 10%. All right, so this is why it was best to wait. This is why we were going to get the clarity we needed. We just needed to really wait. So now we do have that bearish engulfing candlestick. I want to point out on the daily time frames, guys. These things do suggest for the downside is incoming. I'm not saying that's for a fact, but the uncertain catalyst is kind of out of the way. We have FOMC and the election this week, so that's more catalyst, and then we have CPI coming up the following week. So we do have catalysts every week, guys, but, certainly after we just had the, big tech is going to be driving these things. And we just had all of these, turn pretty ugly. I'm just going to say. So QQ, bearish engulfing candlestick on the weekly chart, all I'm going to say, all right, you're starting to see this guy roll over here on the weekly RSI. And guess what? All right, you slightly missed that high over here. This dip is very likely going to be a buying opportunity. But if I had to guess, we're probably going to be taking a trip down here. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Maybe you come only down to 477.40, this lower wick right over here. I have absolutely no idea. We're going to have the weekly 21 EMA over here. But, coming down to the daily time frame, you did break down from this channel. We were pointing out, all right, yes, things were, setting up like they want to, they were getting really tight up here. I thought we were probably going to get a move up. We definitely talked about, hey, if you see a breakdown from this channel, that is your signal that we're not going straight up to all-time highs. And that is when you definitely should become risk off, because we're probably about to get more downside. And then on this dip, where we were watching over here on QQQ and then SPY for sellers to step in. Well, we got underneath the daily 21 EMA and the 9 EMA here. And typically, when you get under that guy, it'll act as resistance, all right? Now, SPY was picture perfect from what we talked about. We'll discuss that chart next. But QQ, the specific area I was paying attention to, is going to be right here. All right, and then it was going to be right up here, okay? And, if I just come over here, this was the exact spot I was looking for sellers to step back in. It really was, it was pretty picture perfect here on how this was probably going to end up going, guys. We had trying to find something, I wasn't finding it, though. we did end up having this big fat red bar, and any dead cat bounce, any bounce would probably just going to be a dead cat bounce met with sellers. All right. Now, in SPY, it was picture perfect. We ran up to our supply zone. Over here, you didn't end up testing that supply zone, but you did reject this low from over here, as well as the daily 21 EMA, guys. And when you're under there, bad things typically end up happening. This setup really reminds me of something like this, and this is what I was saying. It's best to wait, and now we've waited, and yeah, we were right. It was definitely time to be risk off, and I don't think it's the best time to start just putting that on back yet. We're going to point out when I think that's time, but it's not going to be right now. All right, so you know, as of support and resistance, let's go over support first. Oh, let's go over resistance first, because I do think you could continue this bounce into you know, into Monday, but I think it's probably going to be sold. All right, so we do already have a large, you know, upper wick here. We do have an inside day, so it doesn't suggest we're gonna like immediately fall down. But you know, I'm just saying, we've had these things, you know, you could go something like that, but the point is, we're already down here. We're underneath where, you know, short-term momentum typically will step back in when you are on these corrections. We're underneath all of that. All right. So I think, you know, what we just saw to the upside, we now open ourselves up to some waves to the downside. Things go in waves, things go in cycles. And, you know, we just had this guy over here. All right. What if you see that guy? People are going to lose their freaking minds. And we talked about this. All right. So resistance up here, if we do get that bounce, it's going to be 487.57, this low over here. 489.44, this low from right over there. And then we have 492.23 that is going to align, you know, right over here with that high, but we can better see that demonstrate over here on the 15-minute time frame. It's certainly going to be a reaction spot if we come up and test it. If you can get above it, we're going to come back over the daily time frame. We are going to have the, you know, supply zone that we mentioned right over here. Okay, and that would also be the back test of that, you know, parallel channel you just broke down from. So expect sellers, guys, if we get this bounce. I'm not saying it has to happen, but we do have FOMC and the election coming out. So we're going to get a rate decision. We're going to get, you know, a presidential decision here, and I'm sure it's probably going to bring some volatility. So get ready. VIX is also set up to, you know, it certainly suggests we could get some more volatility. All right, on the downside of support, what are we going to be watching, guys? We're going to, again, come down to the 15-minute time frame. You're going to have this little base you formed right here. All right, you kept sweeping these lows right here. You just right there. All right, and then you broke up from your base. So that is what we're going to be paying attention to. 486.37 was the top of that base. If you cannot hold there, that's also the 0.618 fib right here. You cannot come over and hold that. We're going to be watching 485.05. And from there, you know, I'm just going to say, guys, you have 483.75, and then you have to hold 482.50. You're coming down here with all likelihood to 477.40, and that move could happen quick. All right. You could consolidate here for a little bit. I'm not saying things go straight down, but, you know, if this thing loses, you're probably going to come down here. All right, now coming over to SPY next is what I was saying. You didn't test the daily 21 and 9 EMAs over there, but what you did do is you rejected the supply zone that we were paying attention to. All right, so typically I focus on, you know, QQQ mainly, but SPY and QQ, one of them typically gives us the price action we need. So we always have, you know, our scenarios where we're watching both of them. And, you know, I'm going to point out the underlying structure here on this daily time frame. Let's look at it this way. All right, you have a low down here, you have a high. You have our low, we'll call it right there. Like, you technically got that guy right there. The point is, you kept making these higher highs followed by higher lows or equivalent lows, and then you kept pushing up to new highs. You have this high. What happened next? You came down. You did find buyers where we were exactly where we were looking for buyers to step in. What happened? They only gave you the dead cat bounce. And, you know, QQ did go up and take out this high. All right. SPY did not. All right. So that's what I was saying just before. One of these charts typically tells us what we need. And, you know, right here, picture perfect. You rejected at the supply zone. And you also have this sequence now of a lower high followed by the lower low. And that is something to, you know, be a little concerned with. I'm not saying it's going to be the end of the world. All right. You can get, you know, bought right back up. But I think we're probably going to get at least one more little slide down here. And I'm specifically going to be watching this golden pocket, which is between 550 and 557. I'm not saying we get all the way down there, but we will have this key level down there at 554.87. That is 554.87. So let's now talk about support and resistance. All right, so resistance, if we do end up seeing a bounce, because we're going to be looking for sellers in the same exact spot, and if you can get above that supply zone, if you can, really get above 574.71 here, let's just see, did you get an hourly close above it? You did. All right, so we're just going to say get a daily close above it. We're going to be open some further upside here. But as of right now, you are seeing that rejection. Now, what level are we going to be paying attention to if you do get above there? We're going to be watching 578.08. I don't think you just shoot up to all-time highs here. I could be completely wrong. Again, we got the election coming up. I really don't know how the market's going to react to that. I really don't know. All right. I've been seeing things. Oh, Democrats lead to better stock market gains. All right. Stock market returns on the indices. And then you got Republicans, maybe better for the economy, but are they going to do a little, are they going to, beat the dog a little bit? Maybe. All right. So we don't know how the market's actually going to react to these things. For all we know, the market could rally off Trump. The market could rally off Kamala. Who cares? All right. We're just going to kind of, watch and see what happens here. And like I said, guys, it was an uncertain week last week. I think we get some more downside here, judging by how things are looking. Like all four indices look like we could slide. So I think it's safe to say we should look for some more downside. All right. Like I'm not saying it has to come, but it certainly should be the bias with how things are looking. There's no denying that one. But yeah, so on the upside, 573.36 to 574.71 supply zone, above there 578.08. And then on the downside of support, we're going to have, right over here, you can see it on the hourly time frame. This was a key spot that got some reactions there. But on the daily time frame, you can see those kind of are a little base for a few days there. Broke up from there, retested, found bars there. And then, you were off the races. So support is going to be 569.80. If you can't hold there, 565.16. Now, I'm saying 565.16 is kind of my minimum downside target here. I was saying if you lost, I think it was 575. I think I was watching this level right here. Actually take off this level. Take off the level of 578 right there. 578.54. That's what we're going to be paying attention to on the upside. All right. So resistance 573.36 to 574.71 supply zone. You're going to have your EMAs right here, 21 and 9. And then above there, 578.54. We were paying attention to that level last week. We were saying underneath here, it was on my focus list. You could get a quick move all the way down to 574.71. We did end up seeing buyers there. All right. So that is, certain, or not last week. It was 2 weeks ago. But, I'm just going to say over here, guys, you lost there. And now we're probably going to treat this area as supply. You're going to have sell orders, as we saw over here. And guess what? This is a major break and retest level down at 565.16. So that's the area of interest to me, 565.16. If you cannot hold there, 560.83 is going to be the next support. And then we have the golden pocket, which I was saying 550 to 557. 554.87 is going to be the key level inside of that golden pocket that we're going to be watching for that confluence spot. So maybe we get the bounce there. Now on the weekly time frame, guys, you are on the weekly 9 EMA on pretty much all of these. I'm going to say it's probably something like that. We're probably not just going to bounce right back up. You could. All right. I'm not going to say this weekly chart over here looks terrible. But, I just pointed out QQQs. All right. Bearish engulfing candlestick. You come over here to SPY. You don't have the bearish engulfing candlestick, but you did kind of have this 2-week range and you started breaking down from it. So that is something to pay attention to. All right. But yeah, as far as the daily time frame goes, guys, I'll actually come over here. This is when I was just going in here. All right, guys. You just want to look at these, all right? So like this is all 4 of the major indices just all together right here. And I'm just saying they all look butt ugly. They all look butt ugly. Yes, Black Monday is on the table. I'm not saying it is. But I don't buy into things like this. I don't care. But I will tell you, we have a setup here that suggests we could get some downside. And if you do get some more downside and people start calling, for some crazy stuff, just know, guys, the market doesn't move straight out and down. It doesn't move straight up. We're going to be following price action along the way. We're going to know how to react to price when certain levels get hit. And that's how we're going to stay ahead of this thing. All right. We're going to always be prepared ahead of time. That is the purpose of these videos. All right. So this is our weekly prep. So that's SPY over there for you. We're going to come over here to IWM. What do we have, guys? You did break down from this larger rising wedge pattern. You did put in a lower high over here. I thought it was looking really good at the time, but then you closed out with a nice upper wick and I was like, oh, it died. That's cool. You did end up breaking down. You did get rejection from your short-term moving average right here. Again, same look as, DIA, SPY QQ. All right, rejection from the 9 and the 21 EMA here on the daily time frame, as well as like you didn't backtest the, lower trend line of that rising wedge, but you almost did. You reacted to this cluster spot right here in a bearish way, and that's not really the best look in my personal opinion. You did find buyers right over here at the 0.786 fib. You had the RSI was pretty much an oversold territory over here. You put in a slight bullish divergence there, but you didn't really get too much of a bounce. We're just going to take off extended hours real quick there. So on the downside is support, guys. We're going to be watching 218.53, 217.37. And then if you lose 217.37, guys, it's over. It's clipped. You're coming down to 215.08. And then we have this gap down here at 212.78. Now, if you don't hold this golden pocket, it tells you you're probably going to have 100% retracement. It would actually be the low of this candlestick right here. So we don't have to watch this exact level, but I'm going to, just because we have confluence there. If you do it a little more, you also have that confluence going on here. Like, you could probably just keep going. Oh, look at that. We have a reaction. We have a reaction. We have reactions. We have reaction. We have a reaction. This is the level we really should be paying attention to over here. 215.38. That is the level we're going to be watching. All right. So break under 217.37, probably come down to 215.38. And then from that point, yes, you have this reaction spot. I imagine you probably just get a dead cat bounce or slide through it. And come down here to 212.78 gap to fill that guy. And you're going to have the, large impulsive move you just had here. All right. That is the golden pocket from that. All right. DIA. What do you got, guys? What do you got? More rejection. More ugly looks over here on DIA, guys. So we do have rejection from the daily 21 and 9, just like we suggested on the previous indices. But you also rejected a key spot. All right, and that's not the best look. All right, I do think you're sliding lower, and I do think there's a solid shot. We come down here into the golden pocket. As support, we're going to have 418.50. Excuse me, what? We have 418.50, 416.55, and then we're going to have, we'll have that, because if you come down here, you're probably not going to hold this low. Normally, we sweep the lows. So yeah, the next spot is going to be 416.55. So that's the level we're going to watch. Under there, we just have the golden pocket, which stems from 407.80 up to 413.30. So we'll just call it like 413-ish. Get down there, probably do end up seeing a reaction there. I'm just going to point out we'll just make it with the zone. That. All right. So if you come down here, expect your reaction. All right, because you really can just, come right here. You have a bunch of reactions going on here. So we probably get the same exact thing. Probably going to be buy orders sitting down there. If you can't hold the zone, 410.13 is the support to watch. That's that little top of the base that you broke out from and had that impulsive move. On the upside of resistance, we're going to have 420.39, which you're kind of like right at. All right, you held it, and then you were holding it, and then you got sucked back. Look at this. You got sucked back into it by the end of the day. You were looking so good early on in the day. But yeah, so we're looking for more downside, guys. That is about it. If you do want another bearish reaction here, all right, if we get that another dead cat bounce here on Monday, 422.78. Now, we're going to go over before we do that, we're going to go over VIX. I'm just going to briefly remind everyone what we talked about the other day. You do have this larger cup and handle pattern. It does look like VIX could have a little spiky up here to around 30. I do think, this thing is definitely in a, it's in a consolidation pattern right here, and it's getting ready to go. You definitely have this ascending, little wedge, ascending triangle, whatever you want to call this thing, with a flat, little top up here that is also serving as the cup and handle neckline. I think this thing could kind of get explosive here. I'm not saying it does, but again, we have the election coming up. We have an FOMC rate decision coming up, and we're gonna just have to see how it goes. We're gonna roll with the punches, guys. We are just gonna react, and we're gonna know how to react. All right, so if you do get another dead cat bounce on Monday, all right, VIX could very well come down to 2047, and from that point on the 15-minute time frame, you're probably going to have the RSI in oversold territory, and that's where we look for a bounce. Now, if you come down here in this, all right, this RSI on the 15-minute time frame makes a higher low right here. You're going to have a bullish divergence. that is also going to be retested. You clearly see this is the level we were paying attention to for a little snap back action. What happened? You did snap on out of it. You actually gapped above it. Now, if you come back and retest it, guys, we're definitely going to be looking for, I know people say you can't do TA in the VIX because not actually buying and selling going on the VIX. Okay, guys, we very clearly can do TA in the VIX. I do it like almost every single video. So there you go. Especially in these weekly updates. And I use the VIX for my daily bias when trading NQ pretty much every day. If you do want to come join me trading futures every morning, I'm typically trading from 9:30 to 11 100% of the time. And then I'll, take some setups throughout the day if I like what I see. And then, all my options trades, swing trades are going to be over there. Link is down below in the description if you would like to join me. But, definitely going to be expecting that to be a reaction spot down here if we get that little dead cat bounce on the indices, and then we can look for a further bounce. On the weekly chart, though, you could see, it's getting real tight here. We're going to expect some volatility. Tesla. All right. Tesla on the weekly chart doesn't look the best over here, but I will remind everyone you had this really large green candlestick that pushed right up here. If it really is going to come down to does Donald Trump get elected or not, if Kamala gets elected, this thing's probably going to continue selling. But if Donald Trump gets elected, I imagine this thing's going to start skyrocketing. That's all I'm going to say about this. We're not really going to talk about TA too much. All right. You're going to have the supply zone between 264.86 and 271. That's about it. If Donald Trump does get elected this week, this thing is probably going to come up to $300 pretty quick. That's all I'm really going to say here. All right. On the downside of support, we're going to have the golden pocket. You're kind of in this gap. You're in the void here. All right. So we're going to probably just look at this level 230, 234 if you could start coming into the golden pocket. But you are right there at the daily 9. This would be the spot right there for, the reaction to happen. Whether it be on the upside or the downside, we typically get reactions around this guy, and now we're testing it from the upside, so we probably will get a reaction, at least a dead cat bounce here. We will see how that goes. Apple, guys, it is ugly. There is no denying it. This is an ugly looking guy over here. If you lose 219, I think you're probably going to come down here and test this golden pocket, and that will align with this daily RSI getting oversold. And at that point, we're going to start looking for a buy setup somewhere right over here. I'll just mark it with a circle just to make it very clear for everyone. I don't know if people are watching on phones, iPads, computers, absolutely no idea. TVs. I know some of you guys do that. Shout out to you guys. But yeah, right over here, guys, sweep these lows, come down to 211.70. We'll call it 212-ish. You probably are going to see buyers start stepping in right around there. But again, daily RSI oversold. We start looking for that buy setup over here. And, I don't know exactly how it's going to present itself, but this is where all of the major buying opportunities come in. We're definitely going to look for something on the hourly time frame there for buyers to start stepping back in. At least me, in real time. That's what I'll be looking for. All right. So, yeah, under 219, we're really just watching that. You did hold your 221.33 support. You did end up gapping down pretty heavily off earnings. I remember we had like a minus 7 or 8% move one time over here on Apple earnings. And, what am I talking about? It was right there. You also had it. That's not, you're not doing what I want, stupid magnet. There you go. All right, you could have ugly moves over here in Apple, and right now, that wasn't one of them. All right, so I'm just putting that out there. You probably could get down there, though. All right, Amazon, how are we looking, guys? You did end up coming up to that 200 sell wall there. So I was saying 200 sell wall is probably incoming. Yeah, that's not too bad. All right, and we didn't know that until we started seeing the initial reaction off of earnings, but once we started seeing this thing go, pretty much right away there, it was probably going to go a little further and test the 200 sell wall. You did, and guys, there's still sellers there. So, yeah, support is going to be 197.96. We're right over here, which I'm not even going to say that's strong support. Like, I don't really want to look at that as support. We're just going to be paying attention to the high over here. Right now, you're in no man's land. That's what we're going to call it. I do think you're probably going to continue higher after this dip if it comes. If it does come, you have the golden pocket. It's going to align with the support right here at 189.93. So that's the key spot. This is where you based and broke out from over here. You just literally consolidating this range. All right, guys, we typically see ranges / bases. I call them bases. You see them, they're consolidation periods. And typically when you break one of the sides of them in an impulsive manner, it leads to a larger move. We have a lot of those. Okay. And, sometimes it's in like slight little downtrends like that. Those aren't bases. I would call these things, but you're either going to have these downtrends or uptrends and you break those, or you're going to have bases and they lead to, continuation or reversal moves. In this case, you went up. If you come back to retest that, I'm going to look for buyers there. 195.37 is support, and then 189.93 is down there. That aligns with the golden pocket. Resistance 201.20. I do have to assume you're going higher after looking at this weekly chart. Just know. Bullish bias over here on Mr. Amazon. Goog. All right. You have a nice, ugly, large upper wick here. But what I am going to say is you came down and you held the exact level we were paying attention to over here, which is 170.41. Now, if you come and, sweep that low there, you will have the golden pocket right over here. But, this was the major break and retest level for the inverse head and shoulders pattern that we were watching for so long. All right. So long we were waiting for this move. You finally got the pop off of earnings. And guess what? You found buyers right here at the daily 9. You have the 0.618 fib from the golden pockets in right underneath and that break and retest level. I really like it. Resistance is going to be 175.91. And then, above there, you don't really have anything till the, upper wick of that from Thursday's candlestick, and then what we had on Wednesday, the upper wick from the earnings candlestick, which is 183.79. If you take out 183.79, expect to move up to 193.31. Not really much to talk about over here. It's kind of going to do what it does, guys. You're bullish down here. If you lose here, you're coming down here. That's literally how you got to approach this thing. You take on your risk right here. I took it right here. And then guess what? You lose 166. You probably are going to come down towards 161.12. And, if you can hold here, you probably are going to be pushing up here. If you're taking it here, all right, start, taking stuff off here. Maybe you got to move up here, take another one off and leave a third for, new all-time highs. Whatever you want to do, all right? But that's typically how I'm seeing this chart. That's how I'm reading it, and that's how I would be playing it. And anyway, guys, all right, it's very simple to read this price action here. You break under here, you probably come down here. We have a larger retracement on our hands. You break under here, you probably do find buyers. Like, you probably sweep this low over here, 161.12, and then hold the line before 159. That's Goog for you. Microsoft, how are you looking, guys? All right, so this is something that I actually did just break down from this little head and shoulders pattern. Let me just clearly draw that out for you guys. All right, so you're going to have a left shoulder, you're going to have a head, and you're going to have a right shoulder over here. And we did get this kind of, lower high / double top scenario, and then you broke underneath that neckline there. All right, so, I know you got a little dead cat bounce. I understand. I can see it just like you can. But I definitely will point out, rejected the neckline of the head and shoulders pattern. You did find buyers right where, we would be looking for buyers. You swept the low. So this is actually what I was just saying. You usually sweep lows. And if the golden pocket is in right there, you'll get at least a dead cat bounce. It's just a key concept that I see across the board on all these charts pretty much all the time on every single move. So it's definitely, expecting it there, but it doesn't look like it's going to hold, guys. You found rejection right there where you had your, necklines, and right there you had your 4 reaction spots right there. Broke down, retest, came back down to where you bounced. That's not the strongest look right there. That's pretty similar to what it looks like on the indices right now. I do have to assume you're going to be coming down to the 480 support over there, and I think you're probably going to sweep that and then hold it somewhere over here. All right, you're going to have the daily RSI in oversold territory. I'm not saying the move is just to jump into this thing, because we can clearly see, all right, like this is what I was pointing out over here. Maybe we get a dead cat bounce. It resets the RSI a little bit, and then it has room to go lower. If this alert that we set, live in this video over here, I think it was on Thursday, if that gets hit, guys, it gets hit, we're probably going to, be finding buyers somewhere around here. So we're going to be looking on the hourly time frame for a buy setup over here on Microsoft whenever that alert gets hit. So if you see the RSI get down towards 30, there you go. That's typically where you see, buyers start stepping back in. Golden pocket, it's right over here, right? So I'll just put a nice little green circle. If you cannot hold 397.50, we're going to call it, probably going to slide all the way back down here, and that sucks, all right? The weekly chart doesn't necessarily look good. You clear as day. You have this little, we pointed this one out. I don't think it's actually going to play out, because if you, let's look at it this way. If you do get it moved down here, you probably get buyers at least for a decent amount. But maybe that could be a dead cat bounce, and then you see it for the side. We're really going to have to see how this goes. Weekly head and shoulders pattern, very clear as day over here. I'm not saying it runs back up to the highs. I do think it's probably going to run back up to the highs at some point. You know, but I don't know. You're going to need the help from the indices, and we know those are looking bearish. So this is probably just going to continue lower in the short term with the indices. All right. I know we got a lot of levels up here that we really don't need right now. I guess we'll keep off that stuff. Yeah. All right. If you do, you know, have another dead cat bounce, look for, what the heck is this level? What is it doing? Just sitting there. All right. Look for sellers right over there at Thursday's high at 416.16. Okay. Coming over to Meta. What are we watching, guys? Weekly time frame is going to be the start of the show over here. I think you're probably going to slide down here. I think you're probably going to get buyers. This is going to be a major buying opportunity. I got the alert. I'll let us know when it comes. You know, if you're, you know, really in this market, you're probably going to be watching it. Yeah, if you have a Trading View subscription, guys, put your alert down there. This is a setup that I think is, you know, with time, I think it's probably going to be very lucrative. Major break and retest can happen right here. And, you know, I'm not saying it does come down here, but if you lose this weekly 9 here and you lose 554.19 support under there, okay, you have nothing until 542.81, and that's the level we watch. All right. So somewhere in this zone here between 530 and 540, you know, we'll call it 530 and 545. You have a $15 buy zone there. It's technically a $12 buy zone. But, you know, and then you're looking for this. So, you know, that right there, even if you're looking at it as a $15 buy zone down there, guys, your risk to reward is massive here. It's already a 1-to-4, like, or a 4-to-1. You don't, you know, it's not bad at all. Not bad at all. I'm really fond of this weekly chart, and I've been waiting for it, and I think it might come. We're just going to have to wait. But yeah, if everything slides a little lower, it probably will come. And that's why I say I'm bullish on this dip. I think we have a lot of things that suggest we could be getting bought up after this dip. Maybe to a new high, but, you know, at least for that decent sized bounce, we definitely have some confluence spots to be watching here. So maybe you come down here. The 0.618 fib is going to be, I'll just put the levels here. That is going to mold the prices. That is going to be 537. We're going to be paying attention to it, right? Support 562.35, 554.19, 542.81, and then 537 is that 0.618 fib. Somewhere in between 530 and 543, we'll call it. Look for buyers. All right. So those are the big boys, guys. We're going to be talking about the chips, and they are also looking vulnerable. Everything is looking vulnerable right now. Like, we could slide lower here. Got a whole bunch of rejections from the daily 9 and the 21 over here on all of these actively traded stocks we watch, and it's looking pretty bad. All right. I'm just going to point out structure wise, equal lows over here. Technically, we have, come on, Magnet. Why you got to do that, Magnet? Why you got to mess with me, huh? Right over here, you got like equal highs, and then what happened? You broke under there. All right, equal lows, equal highs, broke under them. Now you have your lower low, rejection from the bottom of that little range you had going on there. Not looking the best. All right, not looking the best. I think you probably could undercut this 237 support right here. On the downside, where you're going to be paying attention to, it's going to be the low from Thursday's candlestick at 240.28. Under there, 237, and under there, we're going to have this little cluster spot that probably does have some buy orders sitting down there at, you know, where the 0.618 fib is at 232.50. So that's what we're paying attention to on the upside of resistance, 245.58, 248.20, 251. You have your supply zone. But, you know, hey, you got to get back above the short-term moving average before anything happens, because when you're underneath, it opens you to a slide. And when I say slide, guys, this is what I mean slide. Imagine, you know, a kid just going down a slide. You just go straight down. You don't really stop. Unless it's skin on plastic slide action, and maybe you do stop and it hurts along the way. I don't know. But, you know, imagine this, you know, at the carnival, you got these, you know, the bean bags, the giant slides there that always hurt your butt. I remember that. I remember my tailbone always getting messed up on those things. You know, seen horrific videos online about those. Imagine those things where you just, you know, full throttle, go down. That's a slide. Okay. That's like one of these things. That's like, you know, oh, you had the first one at consolidation. You're still underneath it. It opened up to that one. Oh, you still couldn't get back above it. You opened up to that one. You know, until we recover these short-term moving averages, you know, I'm just saying short-dated calls make absolutely no sense. All right. If you're looking to buy dips, buy with time. I'd say anyone's going to have a good time probably 2 to 3 months out. But, you know, again, we're open to this slide, we call it. NVDA. This is actually a setup I really like. down here, weekly chart, you could clear as day see. This is where you broke out. You get this little ugly double bottom. This is your neckline, pretty similar to what we got over there on QQ and Avgo. Those charts stand out to me as well. But, you know, right over here, NVIDIA especially, this is the big boy over here. And, you know, I think these earnings are probably going to give you a pop. They are late November, though. So, you know, hey, what if we consolidate into, you know, late November, like 2/3 of the way through, and everyone loses their mind? Who knows? That's why I say if you're buying this dip, it's best to use time. I don't think short-dated calls at all or the move. Short-dated puts, you know, trade with the momentum. It's giving you downside action right now. It's not upside. Again, if things change. All right. Like, let's say market has a really positive reaction to the election, and you know you don't catch that initial move. Well, guess what? What if that move pops you above all these short-term moving averages, and then maybe you pull back to test them? There's your opportunity to get in on the rally. You don't have to catch the whole move. You just need some meat on the bone there, and you know I'll help you do that here on this channel. If you want help in real time, link is down below. Right here, though, 131.26 is a major break and retest level from this ugly double bottom. And then underneath there, you're going to have this uptrend. Let's just point it out there. Touch point. Maybe you put in your third touch point, and then you also will have right over there, you have the where you broke out from this downtrend over here. You know, so right here, I'm just going to put a little circle here. If you have like a quick slide out of like, you know, not out of nowhere, because we clearly can't see it. We said if you broke this low over here, you're probably going to start that. And then that level of service purpose, we don't need it. We got that. Right there. Is that giving us reactions? And you know what? We'll just be looking at this. All right, guys. So we're going to do that. Okay. Yeah, there we go. 137.46. That's the resistance we're going to be paying attention to. I think you're probably going to come down to 131.26 at least. And if you can't hold there, we're going to be watching, you know, golden pocket, which starts around 126. You have 127.67 support, another little breakout level over here. We broke up to a new high. And then, you know, in this golden pocket, you're going to have the uptrend. And then you also have this broken down trend for the retest. So confluence spot up the wazoo right here. You're either holding like somewhere over here. You're going to come down here. Maybe even test 120.79, and you know, there you go. It's, you know, you got a lot of reactions going on right over here where the 0.786 fib is. You got the uptrend, you got broken down trend. There's your confluence spot. I like it. TSM, are we looking? I like the weekly chart, but I also will point out buyer stepped in there, daily 21. Buyer stepped in there, daily 21. What happened here? Buyers all stepped in. All right, they hit you with the Uno reverse card by the end of the day. All right, this weekly candle was looking extremely bullish early on in the day. But then they faded you. They completely faded you down all 6 schmeckles by the end of the day, closed you down at the lows. Not looking the best for the short term. But I will point out this weekly chart does definitely look good to me. And, you know, I think if you're buying, you know, at least, we're going to say if you're buying 2 months out, I like the December expiration. You got that. That's going to be like 40 to 50 days right there. And then, you know, after that, the January expiration. If you're buying calls, guys, you know, no financial advice will be given on this channel, but those are definitely the expirations that stand out to me that, like, you know, I would find appealing here on this dip. There's no reason to play anything short dated until you actually see like those bases form, and then you have confirmation that, you know, buyers are actually stepping in, and then we get above the daily 9s again, and then we probably have a straight move up. All right, you probably will get some boom action. You get up here. This is what I was saying. All right, you don't have to catch the whole move. You get above it. You got to retest here on one day, and then you also get to retest the next day. All right, like, you know, you had opportunity to get in on the rally. You didn't need to catch this. You didn't. You could have. All right, but in reality, if you're shorting, you know, and maybe you didn't cut the low, well, somewhere in this candlestick probably told you, get the frack out. This is crazy, all right? You also had the bullish divergence over there on the daily OSI. But, you know, come down, support is going to be 184.25. And then under there, you're going to have 175.45, which was that inverse head and shoulders neckline. If you can't see the inverse head and shoulders, I got you. We were watching it when it happened. All right, got the breakout, got the retest. We actually, it wasn't just that level. It was the zone we were paying attention to. Held that neckline, and you did end up going off the races and new highs. All right, now this pullback, weekly chart, definitely suggests this pullback is going to be a buying opportunity. So that's what I'm watching over there on TSM. Okay, we'll just do that. Avgo, what do we got over here, guys? We do have an ugly look. All right, so boom. I was a little sad that I missed out on this little pump right there. But what happened, guys? You did end up selling down to a new low within the next 3 trading sessions. Now on the weekly chart, like this is what I'm saying. This thing looks like it could slide down, probably come down to 160.41 support. You're gonna have the weekly 21 EMA right there. We could find, you know, buyers there. It has happened in the past, okay, on these little correction points on these rallies. I do think since you just popped up to new all-time high, this pullback is definitely going to be a buying opportunity. We didn't really see the move I was planning on, you know, seeing from here, from the ugly double bottom breakout. That's a $38 thing. We're probably going to have an equivalent move there. That, you know, we're looking for above 200 and you haven't got there. You have a lot of upside if you're buying this dip. You know, earnings are also, you know, early December. You know, you have late November NVDA earnings, and then you have, you know, these over here. So, you know, just know premiums on these guys are going to be juiced. Big Tech, however, just had the earnings on this dip. I'm going to favor them. I like NVIDIA too, though. All right, so that's Avgo. I think you're probably going to slide a little lower. Support is going to be 165.80. Lose that 160.41. And then, you know, underneath there, we are going to just have the golden pocket from there at 155-ish. Okay? AMD. So AMD right here, right at the 0.78 fib, lose 141. You're probably coming down here towards 132.11. And that is going to be something that is probably going to take place. And, you know, if you really want, see it right there. Look where you found buyers starting to step in. I know you had this little, you know, boom, terrible day there, but then you rallied back up. But as you can see, this is where the confluence was. This is where we have a lot of this, you know, a lot of these buyers stepping in continuously over here. This is the reaction spot, not the confluence. This is the reaction spot we're talking about, which actually, it would be the confluence too. You have the 0.786 fib sitting right there. All right. So, you know, lose 141, probably going to have 100% retracement, or at least, you know, you're going to probably slide a little lower. And then you're looking for buyers to step in. Daily RSI is going to eventually get to, you know, it's going to start approaching oversold territory. Probably start seeing buyers around there. I don't know how quick that happens. You know, sometimes AMD wants to take its time. We'll see how it plays out. All right. But on the upside, guys, you know, if you can hold here at 141.14, like I've just pointed out, like this is the overarching, you know, golden pocket here from this whole move. You're right here. So, you know, you could very well get buyers stepping right here. You have the 0.786 fib from one right there. And then you have the 0.618 fib from the larger golden pocket. We'll just have to see how this goes. But, you know, resistance is going to be 143.08 now. And then you're going to have the high from Friday. And then you get above 144.54. Then you really have nothing until 148.01. Now that you have a little bit of structure to go off of. Not really much, but, you know, I don't like extended hours. There you go. All right. That's AMD. Coming over here to ARM, guys. It is looking pretty ugly here. We did point out it's not a really reason to get bullish. It was not a reason to get bullish, guys. It was not. We did point out if you could get above this 152.22 level, probably got a quick pop towards 158.80. You didn't hit there. All right. My apologies. You didn't exactly hit there. You got 157.69. So you came within $1.11 there. But either way, you got a decent sized move there to play. And I hope you guys made some money if you did play it. That's why that was a gray level. Now we'll change it back to red. If you see gray levels, targets. All right. I don't typically show them in these videos, but that's how I chart. All right. You broke down from that uptrend, back tested it, and now you are now at this other uptrend. And I'm just going to say this actually can be, you know, a little head and shoulders pattern we got going on here. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. All right. And, you know, you're kind of just chopping it up here. Well, what if you start breaking down? You're coming down here. All right. So break that trend line there. Break under 141. Not 141. Yeah. I mean, under there, you're looking for 138.40. Under 138.40, we're just going to look for a move down here to this support at 132.80, which happens to have the 0.618 sitting right there. That's ARM. MU, guys, it is looking ugly. We pointed this out. Everything was looking vulnerable, guys. There was no reason to be risk on. I'm sorry if you decide to do that. But over time, you'll learn that there are times when you don't do that. And, you know, maybe even sit out if you don't want to play the short side. And, yeah, this was one of those times. And now, guys, it does look like we're probably not going to hold this 98.94 support. If you get a bounce, probably going to be dead cat bounce. We're going to be watching 103.54 for a bearish reaction off that level. That was your kind of equal lows over here. And then guess what? Under 98.94, we have this gap fill we've been talking about. I got an alert down there, 96.18. Get the gap fill. You have the 0.618 fibs in right there. And then the next big spot is going to be the next gap fill at 90.97, which has the 0.786 fibs. So, you know, somewhere in here, I expect buyers to step back in or a move like this. All right. So, you know, data call starting right here, maybe. At least start looking for that move. And then, you know, start the position here as you get closer to here. You know, really scale up the position if you want. It's really all up to you how you want to play this chart. But I will read it as we go. There's MU. Bitcoin, guys, starting to break down. Okay. I did not think you were going to be breaking down here. You are getting that larger, you know, retracement here. Broke from that uptrend. Okay. Next spot is going to be 66.5K. If you can't hold there, however, this is where we had the break and retest going on from over here, this breakout. Can't hold there. You don't really have much. I know you got these wicks. All right. But you don't really have much until 64,444. 64K, 444 bucks. That's your break and retest level. That's where you have the, you know, 0.618 fib over here. Probably going to get buyers stepping in there. That's that next spot. Bullish on this dip, but as you could see, we are seeing sellers here. You got sucked back in pretty quick here. You had this, you know, this thing be broken. This little uptrend. All right. Is it going to turn into a false breakout? I don't think so. You're going to have the week of 9 here. You have the week of 21 here. Look for reaction right around here. Okay. That's Bitcoin. We're bullish on this dip, but I do think we're getting a larger pullback opportunity. MSTR, 200 bucks. You see it. It is going to be a reaction spot that we're going to be watching for. I'm not saying it's going to hold. All right. But you know, either 200 bucks or 183.70, I think it's probably going to hold. Those are going to be the big breakout spots. You had this big breakout from this massive move down, and then you broke out through it. And you have this, you know, on the weekly chart, the 200 spot really stands out to me. All right. Actually, on the weekly chart, in between here, 200 and 174, just watch that. But the specific level here under 200, 183.70. Coin. What do we got, guys? You're coming down here. Golden pocket, uptrend, support. We like it. There's the confidence. But with what Bitcoin's doing over the weekend, I think it's probably going to gap down onto this. And we're going to have to see how this holds up here. If you cannot hold here 160 support, we're going to see it probably coming down towards a new low. They're going to follow Bitcoin. I know some of the miners did not move up with Bitcoin. That was a little frustrating. Well, not a little frustrating. That was very frustrating for me. I was punching air. Punching air. I was like, I nailed the freaking Bitcoin move, and the miners did nothing of the sort. I was expecting a 20 to 30% move. And I'll just point out, oh my gosh, it did not at all do that. All right. But now you're coming into that confluence spot again, 975 down here. That's going to be where you really broke up from. All right. You had that little false breakout over there. Have the consolidation. You broke up from it. And then you're also going to have the golden pocket. We're going to be looking for buyers to step in there. But if things really get hairy here, we're just going to be watching this daily RSI. When it gets oversold, it's going to give you another buying opportunity. All right. I'd say only date, guys. Only date. You want to catch this move safely, date. Because I don't know. I really don't know what happens in the short term here. I just know on Bitcoin's move here, we're bullish on this pullback. I do think it's going to be led to a new high. That was the plan all along. And we're going to stick with it. I'm looking for a new all-time high over here in Bitcoin. And although you just missed it, we do now see there's sell orders sitting here. So if we're buying down here, if we see that move, all right, we're trimming into this thing again. We're not risking that. All right. MSTR went over that guy. Coin went over that. CLSK went over that. Mara, that is the last miner that I really pay attention to. And you're coming down to the golden pocket. You're going to be watching 1506 support. You have to assume you're probably going to hit it on Monday if Bitcoin holds, you know, the sell it's having right here over the weekend. That is going to be there. Again, just watch the daily RSI. It bounces back. All right. Every time the daily RSI gets down there, you get a little setup to play. All right, just watch for that setup once we get the daily RSI oversold. All right, so now we're going to talk about some trade ideas going into next week, and we're going to conclude today's video with that. We're going to run through these really quick. Apple guys, real talk. All right. Buying opportunity is probably going to present itself right here around this green circle. I know we already talked about it. I'm going to run through these trade ideas quick so we can get out of here, get on our way, and enjoy our Sunday. And again, guys, I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I really do. This is our market preparation going into the following week. If you are new to the channel, welcome aboard. All right. If you got anybody, who would find this info useful, feel free to share. But I think you're going to have a good time on this channel, and I welcome you aboard. All right. I'm a swing trader, and my name is Henry, and I like playing with time. I think, I'm a firm believer. If you, increase the date on your options plays, you are going to increase your win rate, guaranteed. All right. You could sit through volatility and you could wait things out. And I'm going to say, if you're buying down here with time, sweep this low over here, maybe test the 0.618 fib. I think you're going to have a really good time over here. Microsoft. Okay. Another spot down here. 480. We're looking for buyers start stepping in down over here. Daily RSI is probably going to be oversold, and we look for buyers around there. That's all I'm going to leave it at. AMD, two-way setup right here, break under here, probably going to start coming down here. All right, but right here, it's kind of perfect risk to reward. You're either going to bounce back or you're not. It's not one or the other. Or it is one or the other. It's not gonna, probably not gonna sweep this and then go back up. Probably, if you lose that, everything's looking pretty ugly. So I imagine this goes down with everything. So under 141, we're looking for down here. Above there, you look for a retest of 148.01. NVDA, bullish on this pullback. Already talked about it. All right. Confluence spot, downtrend break and retest, uptrend test, support test, golden pocket test. We have everything down there. All right. The 4-hour RSI is probably going to be in oversold territory if we come down here. And at that point, probably get them buyers stepping in. I'm going to put this down there. And, I will let everybody know when that happens. First is going to be the private community. And guess what, guys? Probably going to be a dip. All right. That is worth taking. This 4-hour RSI, every time it gets oversold. All right. We're going to finish up with this over here, putting, a little alert on there. But yeah, every time you get oversold over here on the 4-hour RSI, you get a bounce back. All right. And it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. We know where the confluence is. We know if this thing gets down here, we're probably going to be getting a bounce back. All right. Maybe it takes some time. Maybe, you hit oversold territory, you get a little dead cat bounce and it comes lower and it frustrates everyone. Guys, that is what I was just talking about. Increase, like your standards on these. All right. Your expectations, I should say. Those are going to make or break you. Don't have the short-term expectations. Just don't. We talk about, moves that can be taken on swing trades, and you're going to have a good time that way. But if you're just trying to, buy short-term calls when it's right here and it comes down here, you're going to lose your freaking mind. All right? Lose your mind. By December, January, probably going to have a better time. TSM, right over here. I'm just going to point out weekly chart. This is kind of the exact spot we pointed out to hold. I'm not sure if it's going to hold, but, certainly has a break and retest. If it doesn't hold there, you're going to have down here 175.45 support. That was your inverse headed shoulders pattern right there that we just pointed out over early in the video. That's where I'm looking to hold. You're going to have the weekly 9 there, weekly 21 EMA there as well. Coin, what do you got, guys? All right, we already talked about it. Down here, we're going to be watching. All right, daily RSI starts getting towards oversold territory. We're going to start looking for a buyer step back in. It is going to be moving with Bitcoin, but you got the golden pocket you're coming down into. So we'll see what happens down there. Roblox. All right. Big breakout. Big breakout. We've been talking about this. We've been watching this for a while. And guess what? You did end up having this. We definitely talked about this guy when it happened there. You moved up to the new high over there. Hold back. All right. Do you want to see some magic, guys? And this is why we use this tool. Dude, if you were bullish on Roblox, I wasn't watching it at this point, but I'll tell you, this is exactly where buyers stepped in, all right? Sometimes, guys, there's too many tickers, guys. I can't watch everything. But you did get buyers stepped in exactly where the system suggests, and guess what? All right? You just also had a fresh breakout. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all these little reactions. You just got over that. This thing's probably going to be making some moves, all right? Let's just mark out some levels on the chart we're going to be paying attention to. First things first, 53.88. If you pull back, you'll be watching right here. 47.20. That's going to be, your little spot right there in between there and 48.43. That's where you want to be taking on some risk there if you, are interested in the setup. And then above there, we're going to have 60.50. I think we can hit 60.50 on this little push we got going right here. Does it come with a pullback? Absolutely no idea. It could take a few weeks to actually get there. That's also a possibility. But the point is, we had a big breakout here off of earnings, which is usually a good sign. Is all right. Now, although the market has been looking weak, Disney has not. Disney has continuously held up in this bull flag, as well as this little uptrend we got going on here. I really like this guy right here. You have earnings right around the corner. That's the only caveat here. If you are to break down, we're going to be watching this level at 91.80, which aligns with this uptrend. Maybe you print a hammer candlestick like here and here off that, and that is something to go off of. Notice, off of those days, you consolidated here for a little bit, and then you went. And then right over here, you just went. All right. So if you see the hammer pop up right over here, we're definitely going to be watching for it. We're going to be watching for a bullish reaction off of that. If it prints, we shall see. Schwab. All right. I'm going to point out you are kind of doing a flag action right here. I know that's sloppy. But you're consolidating above the short-term moving average right here. What I am interested in is if you do get the overall retracement here, and you come down here to 67.40. I'm going to put alert right here. You come down there, you're going to have the 0.618 fib right underneath there. That is the big breakout spot. You really do have this zone. So you could be paying attention to this guy over here. But you got that. Yeah, we're going to say 66.38 to 67.40. We probably do get buyers stepping back in over here if we see that move down. And if we see the overall market move down, this thing probably follows it. Like, let's look at it this way. Break under here. You have nothing until you come over here. Upstart. All right. A little flag action consolidating above the daily 21 over there, as well as this uptrend. I like it. The only caveat is you have earnings right here. And IWM looks like butt. So that's that. But weekly chart definitely suggest big breakout right here. You're consolidating right above it or right on it. And I do think if earnings isn't crap to bet over here, I think we could start, trending upwards here. And it's something to keep on your radar. TLH, I don't even want to talk about it. I hate this guy. Yeah, I hate this guy. But I'm pointing out rejection. 4 days. You technically had one right here, but 4 days in a row, and then you finally just got a daily close above the daily 9. It is going to come down to earnings, guys. I do think earnings have the potential here. The potential. Over here to give you a little pop off of this inverse head and shoulders looking pattern right there. All right, the big level to watch is 35.99. Get above there. I think you probably start a trending move back upwards. But we're going to see if earnings confirms the bearish story or gives us a new growth story. We'll see. Baidu, I'm just going to point out, all right, risk to reward right over here is pretty immaculate. 4-hour time frame. You undercut this low a little bit, like slightly undercut it. You're going to have a bullish divergence there. This is where you found buyers here. It's where you found buyers here. I don't think China is in a death mode right now. I think we're in the buy the dip mode. You finally popped up. You had this, swing high over here. This big guy, and you popped above it. So now we're going to be looking for buyers stepping over here. And, you do have this little consolidation spot right there, all right, where you launched off of. You're now finding buyers. So it's not a bad spot right here. The next one I'm going to point out is also a China ticker. I'm going to point out, you get this bullish consolidation going on. We could really take away these short-term moving averages here. And you can see the picture that I'm trying to paint here. Yeah, all right. Inverse head and shoulders pattern right there. I know it looks a little sloppy, and, China tickers are full of gaps all over the place. But at the end of the day, I think you are just setting up for another impulsive move up. And that is that. Going over here to Uber. What do we got going on, guys? All right, we had that slide. We talked about it. If you get that dead cat bounce here, we're going to be looking for sellers in this little zone here between 73.80 and 75.40. 75.40 is that level that, is a big spot right there. If you slide lower, though, underneath 69.87, we're looking for buyers down here. All right, so I'm just going to put that. You just had earnings, so premiums aren't going to be juiced all the way up until February. So you could buy January calls in this dip. If we get it, I think it's a great buying opportunity. All right. I think this is a setup that I think is worth taking. It's probably going to, at least like from here, probably get some action like this. All right. And you could play that move. That is a decent sized move for you to make some money. HIMS. All right. HIMS, guys, I am going to point out, broke down from uptrend, so far is, rejecting. You closed right at the uptrend. You closed down near the highs, though. It's not the worst look. You got earnings here on Monday. So, I'm thinking earnings probably pops you up to new high. But I am going to just say you have this overall inverse head and shoulders pattern. The structure here on the weekly is bullish, not bearish. You had this weekly hammer here off the weekly 9 EMA. You have the weekly 21 right underneath. You are right at this cluster spot, though. You have the back test of that uptrend that just broke, and then you have the daily 21 and the 9 EMA right here. You could slide down here to 1736. I'd be looking for buyers down there, but I will just point out earnings over here. Okay, started this little move up. Earnings over here started this little move up. Earnings over here, it did not start this move up. You had a little more consolidation, then you got up. I'm leaning towards a bullish reaction off of this, but if you do get the bearish reaction, probably get buyers stepping in over here. Maybe you get a day like this where you gap down like that, 11%, and then close out, not down at all. All right, so that's really the watch list for next week on all of the trade ideas that I'm paying attention to. All right, big tech guys, I'm a buyer on this dip. I think this dip is going to be a buying opportunity. I think, people are going to be best served that way. Bearish in the short term. Let's just review the indices before we get on out of here. Guess what? Rejection. Guess what? Again on QQQ, rejection. You want to see IWM, rejection. You want to see DIA, rejection. You want to see Mr. VIX. Okay, it looks like it could get exploding. All right, so that's really what I'm gonna conclude things with, guys. We do have the election next week, and then we will have another rate hike decision, which is going to be kind of crazy, and that is going to be right over here on Thursday. So you got that going on, and then next week we're going to have CPI. So and then PPI right after that. We got an action-packed month ahead of us. I think things are going to be volatile, and I think we're going to have some opportunities. So this was the weekly preparation going into the following week. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, if you guys have anybody in your life that you think would benefit from this, you guys have trading communities and stuff, free ones, don't share in your paid ones. I don't care about that. But spread the word. I think I could help people out, and I think this approach to trading and charting here, and these weekly updates, it kind of sums up my whole approach to it pretty well. I think anyone is going to be served looking at these if they are an active market participant. So feel free to share. I personally would appreciate it. Please, guys, if you did enjoy the video and you made it to the end, please remember to leave a like. I know there's a lot of people watch these videos consistently. I don't know why we don't get more likes, but there are definitely like at least 1,000, around 1.5K of consistent people that just come here. And just remember, guys, like the video, it boosts our YouTube algorithm. Leave a comment. I like talking to you guys, and there's that. All right, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Everybody have a lovely rest of their weekend, and we're going to kill it this week, and peace.